How did Doorstop Diaries make you feel?
It felt exhilarating. I think for a couple of reasons. It had two elements that I loved. The first one, which I was expecting, I was a person without very much, almost no art instruction in my entire life. So I hit age 66. I decide to take an abstract art class, and I take the class, and I'm really at sea. I don't know what I'm doing, but the teacher mentions, hey, there's a program that's coming along and you might like to apply for it. And it's called Doorstop Diaries, and it's with the East End Arts organization. And so I sent off this application all excited because of the aspect of free art instruction, which I couldn't afford to get more of, which I really wanted. And I was thrilled when I found out that I had been accepted into this program. So I was exhilarated from the first go, and at no point did it ever disappoint me. I loved it all the way through. So that was July through January. It made a huge, huge difference in my life, in that I had not only free art instruction, but free art supplies and really good teachers, and a class of people. I also was very surprised to see they were mostly women my own age. And so there was this instant camaraderie. And so we had that, and that was exhilarating. That's part one of it, though. Part two of it was something I wasn't expecting. And that was that it was a very lonely time during multiple COVID lockdowns in that period of time. Very lonely. I couldn't see grandchildren. I couldn't see children, my son and daughter. I couldn't see my friends. I was here with my partner in my little apartment, hardly ever going anywhere. And the kinds of places I like to hang out, and those two places, the major ones, were the Art Gallery of Ontario, the AGO, and the Textile Museum, which is a hangout that I adore. Couldn't go to either one. Couldn't go to a play. Couldn't go to a concert. Couldn't go to a movie. Just like the rest of humanity, no different. But all of a sudden, I had this thing that I could belong to, and it was what I wasn't expecting were friends and friendship and good chats. And we created a Facebook group together. And there was the day of we'd be excited about the day of the exchange of the diary, where Alex, you would come and pick them up and take them to the next person. Even though we couldn't meet the next person, we were speaking to one another through this diary. So I would say exhilaration and gratitude, those two words.
Thank you so much, Linda. What was something you took away from Doorstop Diaries that you're excited to use going forward?
Well, as a hobby, throughout my life, since I was a child, I've made handmade books, and they started out kind of rough, as you can imagine, construction paper, and then they got more complicated as I got older. And my professional life, I was a writer and journalist, but I always had this hobby going along. However, I lacked artistic skills that I could put into these handmade books. And so I think I'll do more of that, but with many more techniques, all of the ones that I've learned. So I also think I'll keep an art journal from now on, just for the fun of it.
Do you feel as if you could help others, like friends, family, neighbors, do some of the same things you've learned, like collage or comics, or even maybe using Zoom? Do you think you would feel confident in that?
Yes, I definitely would feel confident. In fact, I've already started doing it. My sister and I have started a joint project. She lives in Alberta, and we're doing it we're both retired, and we're doing it through Zoom, and we're making an art altered book together. Well, she's doing hers, I'm doing mine, and they're very different. But I'm showing her a lot of the things that I learned how to do in Doorstop Diaries. So yes, I would be very confident doing that, and plan to do it, and I'm already doing it.
Great. Wh- were there any obstacles that you faced but ultimately overcame?
Yeah, I'm not sure I've overcome them. The biggest obstacle is saying to myself for a lifetime, you're not an artist. You can't, you may love art, you may enjoy art, but you can't make art. And that's an inner voice that comes from long ago, probably elementary school, I don't know. But I got over that uh, with Doorstop Diaries. I'm over it. I don't care. There are certain things I will never be good at. I don't draw very well. In fact, I hardly can. So the two things that were hardest for me were the cartooning comic element, which I thoroughly enjoyed, but my drawings were horrible. But I think my story was pretty good. Uh, but the other one that I found very difficult to do was the black ink because it was messy and blob, blob, blob. However, I did overcome on that one. I figured out something I could do with the black ink that worked. But those were the only two things, I think, drawing and the black ink.
I know you kind of already answered this question. How
Mhm.
has Doorstop Diaries affected your feelings of connection or isolation? I know you already touched upon it. Do you want to touch upon it again?
Yeah, I do. Just briefly then this time. When I think of Doorstop Diaries, I think it was like a bridge between the before and the after of COVID times. It helped me cross that time and it helped me be happy in that time. So I appreciate it.
All right. And lastly, tell me why public art is important.
I think it's hard to even begin to answer that question, but I think it adds color and community to the world that is indispensable, that we can't live without. And if you put the visual arts along with every other art form like music and dance and theater and fiction and everything else, all the arts together, all artists, I mean the professional ones, had such a hard time through COVID, but so did their audiences. Their audiences were deprived. And I felt like I was hungry all the time for it, for that feeling you get when you're agog at something that has been produced for you and I felt so I was hungry for the visual arts. So even a discussion of it on when we were in class uh, on Zoom, and even if we couldn't be in a studio or in a gallery, we were together talking about art, and that helped quite a lot. But I think a city without public art, and I'm visualizing where it is all over Toronto that I love. You take all of that away, and it would just be sterile condos and office towers and housing. But you put the public art in, and it pulls us all together.